Hello, everybody. It's my privilege to introduce to you, all the way from the south side of Chicago, the man, the myth, the legend, my Theo, your brother, the SouthSide Unicorn.
And what they're proposing, Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
That never gets old. I think one of these days I'm going to wait for it to get old, but that day is not today. This is Ken White, host of the SouthSide Unicorn Show, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. You know, we're about to have some fun. I want to thank everybody out there who have been showing a lot of love and support for the show. It's like Energon to an Autobot, if you know what I mean. So thank you very much. Click that like, hit that retweet, tell somebody, drop a dime in my little wallet, whatever you got to do, but let's keep it going because it only gets better from here. For example, two people that I want to thank very much because, see, there's different levels of, love and support, but like when you, either give me an MP3, and there's a lot of them, and I got to clean them up and everything, but when I get the MP3s, or I look in a little, unicorn purse, and yeah, it's a purse, it's okay, I'll call it that, you know what I'm saying? Some of these guys get all caught up in their machoism, they don't want to, use certain terms when I be like, oh, you're talking about no purse. Well, bottom line is, when I check out that wallet, purse, whatever it is, and there's a couple dimes in there, we call that unicorn dust, or if you drop an MP3, which endorses the show, that's unicorn dust too. So I want to give a loving shout out to Katie. Katie, thank you for the unicorn dust. And I also want to give a loving shout out to Darlene, a longtime listener and a great, friend and fan. She dropped down some unicorn dust, so thank you too, Darlene. And we also have, Denise Artist. She says she stumbled across the show, which, we don't care how you find it as long as you find it. She's from Twitter, and her Twitter handle is @Denise_artist. And she left us a nice tweet that, obviously we're going to promote that because she said it's a good show and she liked it. So to her husband and her, I'd like to say thank you all. We don't have a sound for, what we call petting the unicorn. That was a nice pet on the unicorn, and we appreciate that. Now, on the show today, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to pull the covers off of Al Sharpton, the undercover brother. Going to do it in like 2 minutes. Got this little thing I want to share with you guys. It's called, Al Sharpton Exposed in Under 2 Minutes. Going to play it and let you be the judge. Got a little news on a guy named Ricky Schroeder. And I know some of you guys are saying, who in the heck is Ricky Schroeder? Well, you'd have to be, I guess, like a baby boomer or something real close to it to understand this guy. He was a star of a show called Silver Spoons, and got a little news on him. Got a little news on R. Kelly, too. Just these stars, if they're not on the stage, they're in a cage, So we're just going to be talking about them. Got a little bit of news on Bill Cosby. We'll be sharing that, and Don Lemon, too. So we're going to just go ahead and get down into this show and start it just like this. Hey, you saw the movie, perhaps, Avengers Endgame, and you had the great nemesis, Thanos, right? Thanos is the bad man. Thanos is the man, right? Everything seems to have that going on. Well, as you know, I always say, does life imitate art or does art imitate life? Baby, we got a problem. It seems that NASA has proved something that I've been saying for over 20 years. They knew about it. But now they're willing to come out, and I want you to know they're doing drills, okay? You don't do drills unless something pretty serious is coming up. It seems, ladies and gentlemen, that NASA says that an asteroid named 99942, now that's its scientific name, but then you got to give it a regular name. And man, I'm not digging on this name, but the name of it is called Apophis. Apophis will come within 19,000 miles of Earth. Now we better hope these scientists got an A in stellar cartography because if they are a B class, astrologer or got C's in astrology, this is a problem. Do you know what 19,000 miles looks like in an AU unit, in an astro unit? You couldn't even put your fingers close enough together for that to matter. The 11,000 foot wide asteroid will be visible to the naked eye. NASA says it will look like a moving star, like a point of light. It will be visible in the night sky over the southern hemisphere, moving east to west over Australia. As it zooms by the Earth, it will pass over the United States between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Well, I know you're going, okay, Kenny, don't mess with me, man. When is this going down? What is this stuff? Well, breathe easy, or at least a little easy. We got a little bit of time here. I think it's coming on April 13th, 2029. That's like, what, 10 years from now? Man, I saw this movie when I was a kid. It was called When Worlds Collide. It was like a 1950s type movie. The rocket ships had little strings on them and whatnot, like Flash Gordon. You know the type of movie I'm talking about. But in that movie, they kept it quiet from the regular people what was going down until it was just almost inevitable. Hey, why did I have to go that far back? Okay, that was that movie. But I think we have a movie that had Morgan Freeman in it called Deep Impact. Deep Impact did the same thing. They hid the information. They were stockpiling stuff. Because, come on, look at it this way. All of a sudden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Trump are all good. We're going to spend $2 trillion and we're all happy about it. Yeah, $2 trillion can get you a rocket ship, a cave underground, or whatever. But I'm not trying to be an alarmist here. I'm just having some fun with you guys, so calm down. But it's a real deal. It's in the news, and the asteroid is called Apophis. In fact, they gave it some hype name called Huge God of Chaos Asteroid to buzz by Earth. I hope they're right, man. 19,000 miles, that's not a lot of room for error. I'd like to see this guy's report card, if you know what I mean, because that one's going to be cutting it kind of close. So, with no further ado on that, I'm going to jump back into something I wanted to do, which is just a basic shout out to people who have shown love and support to the show. Just going to go down the line. Julie, she's from Twitter, and her handle is at MightyMouth5413. At MightyMouth5413. Julie, thank you so much. New listeners that have just started listening, Robert Sinetos, Anne Van de Veldo. When it comes to names, because we're all from different countries and all this stuff, you have to bear with me just a little bit. Andrew Zabron III, Jenny Miller, the Everest family, Jan Young, Michelle Carter. Now, Michelle Carter's from Facebook, and she's out of Texas. Michelle Carter is an absolute, no joke, dyed-in-the-wool patriot. Let me tell you guys something. When the fan hits the, the shan hits the fan, all that type of stuff, this is somebody you want in your foxhole. This is somebody that you will welcome into your house and hand a rifle to. Michelle Carter's a warrior. Then we got my brother, William Eldridge. William Eldridge is a Facebook fan too, but he's also a brother in arms because he's a former police officer just like myself. So sometimes we get caught off in the cop lingo, looking at certain situations. We'll sit there and, laugh about it together and have a really, really good time. There's Tark at Tara Covington. It's TARC, and her Twitter handle is at Tara Covington. Another good fan, and really is spreading the word. And all I can say is thank you all very much, and we will work our butts off here at the SouthSide Unicorn Show to give you something different than, turning on channel 7, 5, 2, and 11, or going onto the radio and hearing the same old stuff. This is going, just a little bit different, just a break from, all the other stuff. And Paul Marquitos, his Twitter handle is at Shadow Warrior PM. Young man, I enjoyed the conversation tonight. So listen, everybody. When you hear me giving out these handles and whatnot, go on my Twitter page at KenWhite4444 or the Facebook chat, which is m.forward /ME Ken White 4444. Get into this in real time, because the things we talk about on the SouthSide Unicorn Show are sometimes germane to Facebook activity, Twitter activity, because we add an extra depth to it, because, after all, you only get 280 characters. So we want to do something a little bit more in depth with it and bring it in that way. So, pardon me. I wanted to, expand on Paul Marquitos. We had a little conversation. He's about, from my estimation, about 20 years old. And so when we, pardon me, when we come back from the break, we will discuss briefly what I talked about with this young man, because it's very relevant to what's happening in our world today and the mindset of our young people. But we got to make that chatter. So we're going for a station break. Please stay with us, because this is going to be a really good show. Be right back after these messages.
Take me in your arms, do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
When I see a new broadcast from the SouthSide Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for staying with us. And that's part of that unicorn dust that we're talking about. That person you heard on the return to the show was Darlene. She was nice enough to send us in an MP3 that says what she thinks about the show. Thank you very much, Darlene. And that will now become part of the show. And everybody else, you can do the exact same thing. Just make your own MP3. Make sure that you follow the rules that we gave. And email it to SouthsideUnicornShow44@gmail.com. Now, real quick, we were talking about a guy. His name is Paul Marquitos. We were talking about what's going on with Antifa, Black Lives Matter, socialism, and all that. And this young man has the rose-colored glasses and the pie in the sky and all that going on. And that's not a criticism, brother, because I know you're listening to the show. You told me you do, and I can see that you do based on your responses. No, that's not me putting you down. That's me making you understand, or helping you to understand. Oh, this is real. This is really real. Antifa's not going away this time. The only way these people that are in our country, in Venezuela, a.k.a. Putin and all the rest of them, we're going to have to fight. Because if we do nothing, somebody tell me these people are going to go away. They're not going to go away. Trust and know they're not going to go away unless we make them go away. Am I advocating violence? Of course not. What I'm advocating is, if you can get to a polling place, I don't care if you got the wheelchair, I don't care if you got a roll like off of your side, you get there and you join the registrars of voters and you work the polls. Don't just go and vote and leave that piece of paper or press that button, because once you do that, just like that woman in Florida, ooh, I can't stand her. African American female, gray hair, looking like the straight female version of the Crypt Keeper. Look what she did to Florida, Dade County. She almost wore us out. Oops, I lost it. And then magically showed up with just enough ballots, just enough votes to pull this man through. Come on. We can't have that in 2020. And the only way we're going to stop it is if you stop it. So start looking for your registrar voters in your local area. And don't just register to vote. Register to work the poll. Register to become a poll supervisor. And make sure that people know that you're not playing. Because we can do all the talking on the shows that we want to do. We can do this, we can do that. And come November of 2020, we will either be victorious, or we're going to be sitting around going, what happened? Oh, they cheated. Oh, they did something. That ain't right. They always start off with that weird idea. It's too close to call, ladies and gentlemen. This is really too close to call. I don't really think so. And I'm sure you don't either. This is not too close to call anymore. All you have to do is look and listen. You got Beto O'Rourke. You got Biden. You got all of these people. And they can barely fill a high school. You got Trump, President Trump, and he shows up someplace, and you can't even get in. There's no room at the end wherever the president shows up. So let's make sure we get more active, and we got to start now because they hit the ground running. I mean, as soon as New Year's Eve was over, they took those hats off, threw the gazoos in the trash, and started getting busy. So they got a 5-month head start on us. My God, look at it. They're already announcing their candidacies for president. And, it's barely, April and May. So we got to catch up with them, and we got to get as hard and as resolved as they are, or this is going to be, an absolute problem. I want to give a shout out to my friends Chris Corbin. His Twitter handle is at Corbin, or CORBJIN 84. Thank you for all your support. I like the interaction. It brings life to the SouthSide Unicorn Show because you guys are interacting on a daily basis based on the shows. And your sidekick, who is Hans1988, his Twitter handle is at HANS19882. You two guys are the real deal, and I truly appreciate your interaction and your help on the show. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to actually do like Neo did with the Matrix. We're going to take their system, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of it, and we're going to use it to defeat them. We're going to use it to bring them back home, because you got to know they're listening too. And for you leftists and you Democrats and all of that, stop with the taunting, okay? I'm going to talk about a subject in just a little bit, but, I'll get to it in its own time. But I did make a tweet about Senator Mazi Hirono out of Hawaii. And it's a real tweet. Go check it out. But then look at what the left did. They taunted. They made these insulting statements. Come on, guys. This ain't about that. We're not trying to reach for the bullet box. We're trying to reach for the ballot box. We're trying to reach across the aisle. Stop being so negative and so... You got to stop, because we're not the ones doing it. You all are, okay? So that's on that. Now, back into some, recent current event news. How many of you remember Nick Sandman of the Covington school system? Remember the young man with the red MAGA hat on, and the American Indians squared off on him, and the media did what our president says they love to do, and they get cold busted all the time, and they still ain't got no shame in their game. They tried to make it look like the young man from Covington was being disrespectful to a Native American and to his elders. And I'm going to tell you, when I first saw the story, because I didn't have all of the elements put together, I said to myself quickly, in defense of us, we, the MAGA, I said, those kids can't be real MAGA based on the storyline. Because I'm like, if the storyline is true that he's being disrespectful and goading and taunting an old, Native American Indian, that's not a MAGA kid. That's not our children. And that's the funny part about adults. You know your kids. You know what your kids are capable of. So, I defended us, saying that can't be a MAGA kid. But lo and behold, it came out that they really were MAGA kids. They're really good, decent, squared away young men. And they had been lied on by PSM NBC, right? PMS NBC. Well, guess what? Mr. Nick Salmon has filed a $275 million lawsuit against PMS NBC. And I think he's going to win. What do you think? Go ahead and add that to our conversation on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else book, because that's going to be one for the ages. And speaking of everywhere else book, look, let's start having fun with Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Keep those sites. Just keep them. But go ahead and think about joining LeaveThePlantation.org. It is a site that is founded by Mason Weaver, a very intelligent, outstanding man. And he's created an organization where we can have these same conversations. If you do get put in Facebook jail, if you do get kicked off of Twitter, you can still communicate with your friends of like mind, because everybody should simply go there. And so when you end up, being sanctioned by these fascists and Nazis, or Marxists, should I say, now it's kind of funny. It's not totally funny, but it's kind of funny because they didn't totally silence your voice. They just showed how intolerant and how desperately we need to get them out of our social network. So it's called LeaveThePlantation.org. Consider joining that, because that'll be your extra chute, your parachute for any situations with these weird sites. Now, real quick, Mr. Jussie Smollett, check this out. You got to stay with the show. The SouthSide Unicorn Show is like, you remember the movie Contact with Jodie Foster? Remember how they had to find the primer and they put all the pieces together and it was multifaceted. It was working on different levels and so many things going on and so much. That is the SouthSide Unicorn Show. So you got to get on that Facebook. You got to stay with the Twitter. You got to watch the tweets and interact because it's all informative stuff. What would you say if I told you that there's a tweet out there from me and a post on Facebook that clearly said that as soon as Jussie Smollett was not charged, he was going to be found, not guilty, and his records were going to be sealed, and he was going to walk away scot-free. I said that within an hour of him making the claim that he was attacked by two white boys with a rope and a bottle of bleach. And I also said that the way they're going to get rid of him, and I'm not wishing any harm on anybody, don't get me wrong, but the way they're going to get rid of him is they're going to begin to create the lattice, the matrix of him being depressed and looking for suicide, thinking of suicide because he's not on Empire and all of that. Well, check out the mainstream media. They're already starting to say Jussie Smollett is despondent and he's sad and suicidal. Well, they're laying out the groundwork to get him on up out of here, because the devil ain't got no love. He was sent by a particular person. It was a mission. They had hoped that the mission would work. So now they're back to the random shootings with the weird guys that have no real faces or names, and they always seem to survive. And then they disappear, and we never hear from them again. Because the race car kind of fizzled out on this one. And they're going to have to, wrap that one up. But yeah, Jussie Smollett, God bless his heart, and we should all put our prayers out for him. The media is saying that he's now possibly suicidal, contemplating suicide. And I'm truly sorry for that. I don't want that to happen. But think about it. You hang out with these type of people, what do you get? Depression, drugs, decay. You can have all the money in the world, and it doesn't matter. Where have I heard that before? Isn't it said that what does it gain to gain the whole world and lose your soul in return? I think we got this one figured out. Those of us who listen to the SouthSide Unicorn Show, the MAGAs, and those who have a modicum of good faith. We're going to pray for you, Jussie Smollett. I'm sorry you made the decisions that you made. I hope that you're going to fix your heart, your mind, get that depression up out of you, because the God I serve doesn't give us a spirit of fear or of all that other stuff. You can shake it off. The Holy Spirit will grab you by the shoulders and shake it off for you, okay? So we're rooting for you. All of us will. I think we should all kind of like go to his Twitter page and let's just send him some love. When the show is done, I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. And we'll show Jussie Smollett some love. Now, when we come back, going to talk to you about Rick Schroder. Rick Schroder is the star of Silver Spoons, for those of us who are old enough to remember it. But we'll talk about that in the next segment when we come back.
Take me in your arms, do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
When I see a new broadcast from the SouthSide Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
Hey, we're back, and we're going to start off with Rick Schroder. Now, Rick Schroder was the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white male from the show Silver Spoons. He was supposed to be a very affluent, very cool, very lovable, likable young man. Well, just like, God, his name is escaping me right now, but he was like, what you talk about, Willis? He was a short guy. Man, I can't remember his name. Anyway, they all grow up. They all become adults. Sometimes becoming an adult when you're a child star can be one of the hardest transitions you'll ever make. Well, it seems that Mr. Rick Schroder has a strange thing going on. He has engaged in domestic violence. One of the most ugliest, painful, things that a person can do. Don't know where it stems from, or do know where it stems from, but you gotta work on that. You cannot be doing that. Well, Mr. Schroder, he's been divorced, but somehow he has a partner with him, and he's living up there in Malibu. So, unfortunately, it's like the cops kind of, kid glove these people. They really, really do. So he laid hands on his girl on April 2nd at 12:26 a.m. And somehow, now trip on this, somehow he ends up out of jail, back at home in Malibu with his girl, and they chilling. Now, if that was you, me, John Smuckatelli, or whatever, and you get involved in a domestic abuse situation, especially after OJ, you ain't going back to that house. The restraining order is waiting on you when you get released. Your weapons are taken from you, everything. You know, they got a whole process. So I'm sitting there scratching my head going, okay, so somehow homegirl don't want to press charges and all of this kind of stuff. And Schroeder ends up back in the house, right? Would you know it that on the 30th of April at 12:43 a.m., he did it again. That's right. Ricky Schroeder, back-to-back domestic abuse of the same person in the same house before he even goes to court on the first one. Now, I don't know if that's going to be an entanglement for law enforcement, too, because how did he end up back in the house? What the hell is going on with Mr. Ricky Schroeder that, you know, it seems like every 30 days he got to be kung fu fighting. Everybody was kung fu fighting, you know. And I'm not making light of domestic abuse. This is just a show for entertainment and to inform you of things. But that's a real serious situation. And it seems like Mr. Schroeder is going through something because that's crazy, you know. But we just kind of segue straight from one male star who abuses women to another male star who abuses women. That next star in line is Mr. R. Kelly. That's right, Mr. R. Kelly. He's on trial because of a show that actually aired. Now, let me kick the ballistics with you guys. In the inner city, African American community, possibly even the Latino community, I don't know. People knew what was up with R. Kelly. Oh, they knew what was up with R. Kelly. I mean, if you check out the show Boondocks, pardon me, if you check out the show Boondocks, they even made a parody about it in a cartoon about what R. Kelly was all about. R. Kelly liked young people, man. Now, you know, I'm not going to say anything because he's currently on trial for his life. Because if they find this man guilty of all the things they say have happened, I don't think he's going to see the light of day no more. But wait. Like I said on one of the other shows last week, thank God we live in America. Because, see, he's entitled to a speedy trial by a jury of his peers and vigorous defense by an attorney. Well, his attorney is trying to give him some vigorous defense because it's kind of hard when they say, young lady, who's the man that laid hands on you when you were only 13 years old? Him? That's kind of hard to get around. But his lawyer came up with a strategy for him. He's asking the judge to totally dismiss the case because R. Kelly can't read. Because R. Kelly can't read, don't put him in jail. He's not guilty of any of the things that the victims are saying that he did because R. Kelly can't read. That's right. But you know what? That's okay. Because he don't have to read. Remember, this is the guy that knows how to fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Right? Well, we'll see how that turns out. We'll see if that's going to be a viable defense for getting this man off. And if not, then I guess he could become the Birdman of Alcatraz, right? So, yeah. And now this next story is one of my pet peeves. It's going to sound crazy because here it is. It's another male star and, you know, harming females. And this is unfortunate, but it seems to be a kind of trend here. But at the same time, I want you to think about Mr. Weinstein. Okay, keep Weinstein in the back of your head because somewhere in this week I'm going to have a show on him. And I'm going to basically do a show which I call The Tale of the Three Bills. And we're going to talk about that. But this is going to be like a buckboard for it, okay? I'm talking about Bill Cosby right now. Look, I've gone through several police academies. Went through a military law enforcement academy too. And what we were taught is people are put in jail as punishment, not for punishment. What's going on with Mr. Bill Cosby in reference to his case Something's wrong, y'all. They're raiding his house. They're ripping him off. His insurance company is making him plead guilty without even talking to him about certain things because they're trying to, save $1 here and $1 there. But they're literally turning this man into chum, and now it's like a feeding frenzy on him. It looks like he has to sue his own lawyers because, okay, check this out. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show too. But with the Mueller investigation, we found out that the Mueller investigation cost us about $26 to $30 million. That roughly comes out to about $900,000 a month to do the investigation. $900,000 a month. And that's pretty high even by government standards, right? Well, it seems that Bill Cosby's lawyers are charging him $1 million a month. Come on now. Come on, man. I mean, the late, great Johnny Cochran didn't even get that kind of bread. And so these are the things that I'm saying. Okay, Bill Cosby most likely will die in prison. And yes, he's a billionaire. But those are still his billions. They're going to be his wife's billions. And I could say they're going to be his children's billions. But if you know anything about Bill Cosby, his children are dead. He lost his son in a brutal murder. And his daughter subsequently, just a few years ago, has passed away. This man has been through a lot. And conversely, though he did wrong, he also gave us a lot too. So somewhere in the Bill Cosby case, I think we need to show how compassionate we can be, how forgiving we can be, how decent we are, as opposed to beating him to death over how bad he is. Just something I want to put out there. I mean, I'm not advocating any of the abuses or wrongs that have been done. Of course not. But again, there's a point in our lives where we have to be, what's her name? Michelle Obama. She said, when they go low, we go high. Well, this is one of those times that I think a little mercy and compassion would have its place with Mr. Bill Cosby. Think about it. Take a look at what's going on with him. Maybe you can start something. Maybe I'll start something. But we do need to at least speak about it and not let him just be dealt with like that as we remain silent. We've been remaining silent too much over too many things. Somebody got to say something. Okay, that's just the way it is. When you look at Ricky Schroeder, somebody's got to say something about that. What happened to Nick Salmon? Somebody had to say something about that. Jussie Smollett considering suicide. Somebody's got to say something about that. We got to start speaking out, ladies and gentlemen. We can't just let these people become tapestry in our minds. They're people, they're human beings. Their lives are made worse or greater by what we do or don't do for them, just like it works the same way for us. Now, on to Don Lemon. Now, I could say Don Lemon did something to some lady too, but nah. Don Lemon happens to be a member of the LGBTQ community, and he didn't do anything of that nature, but he still did something wrong. He considers himself a media professional, and he had Cliff Sims on his show discussing the Charlottesville situation, right? These leftists, these Democrats, boy, they can dish it out, but they sure can't take it now, can they? Cliff Sims told him, you're part of the problem. You, Mr. Don Lemon, you are part of the problem because you won't even let the truth get out. He was trying to recorrect him on this dogma, this mantra that they keep wanting to say that Donald Trump was trying to say that white supremacists were fine and very good folk. We all know better than that now, And so Don Lemon literally cut this man off at the mic. The fascist move, the Marxist move, the censorship move. Do we really have time for these people very much anymore? I don't think so. And it seems like this show is just moving right along. We're headed for another station break. When we come back, we're going to, touch a little bit on Nipsey Hussle. We're going to talk about the black unemployment and how it relates to the immigration situation that we're finding ourselves in. We're going to talk about all of that in just a minute. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
It's Joy Villa, and I'm reminding you to tune in to the SouthSide Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend Ken White.
Do just what you want. You're the one to
Hey, 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 and I belong to you. I love belonging to you all. I love to get the input that you're out there, that you're hearing this show, that you're washing your dishes, you're washing your car, you're taking a bath, you're doing whatever you got to do. I mean, you know, all of those included water. It doesn't necessarily have to be a water sport of any kind. You could be doing whatever you want to do, so long as the Southside Unicorn Show is right next to you, if you know what I mean. Really appreciate you all and really love this. So now, you're going to see over the next few weeks, because I'm going to stay on that tangent. I don't understand the African American people, even though I happen to be an African American myself. This is getting bad, y'all. Why are you going to keep riding with somebody? Why are you going to keep on giving your love up to somebody that ain't got no love for you? I mean, you know, Biden. I'm not playing when I tell you guys this. I'm not saying this just to be melodramatic or anything. Do you know I almost... I don't want to use that word. I almost upchucked, I guess. I'm trying to find a nice way to say. No, bottom line is I almost threw up, okay? When Biden came out that he was going to announce for president, and he rolled out with his racist tropes about Charlottesville, can you guys please, please, please stop using us for your political gain? Stop stepping on my back to get ahead. I'm not a wooden Indian in front of a barbershop. I'm not a lawn jockey on somebody's front lawn in Tennessee at a mansion, if you know what I mean. I'm a human being, and so are my other brothers and sisters who happen to have the same melanin situation and the same hue. Will you please stop talking about us in the third person about political gain? It is really getting old and insulting. Other African Americans out there who want to think you want to be a Democrat, this should be enough for you. Every 4 years they come out with this stuff. You can listen to the start of this show. I play Biden in part of the opening for the bumper music. They're going to put y'all back in chains. Who is this y'all? It's you, Biden. You did it when you woke up and decided you were going to run for president and use a lie of a racist trope to try to enlist the aid of the American people. You're embarrassing yourself, man. And you're pissing me off. So you guys really need to stop. It's getting old, okay? Please. So, black unemployment. Donald Trump did his damnedest to try to hook us up. You know, when they make the movie of the Donald J. Trump saga, that's going to be a hella movie, man. This dude went from the escalator, because you got to remember, Obama tried to talk trash about him, and it kind of warmed him up, kind of made him mad, so he ran for president. And he went from zero to the top. But as he was going through, he looked at the African American folks and he said to us, hey, look, y'all been clowned and dogged out and worked over and handled. Vote for me. What have you got to lose? And despite the early days when brothers were still going, I ain't running with that Trump, I ain't doing it, we ended up with the lowest unemployment numbers in the history of black folks that ain't been slaves. It's really good. But now, compliments of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and everybody else and Mr. Acosta from CNN, who are all saying there's no emergency, there's no crisis at the border, as 100,000 people pour through almost every month. Guess what's happening? The unemployment numbers of African Americans is on the rise. Yeah, that's right. It's up to about 6.7% now, and they can directly relate it to the cheap labor that's coming through that border. So when I see African Americans on a podium in defense of illegal immigration, in defense of the dreamers and all this stuff, you make me sick. You really freak me out. You are sitting there like setting us up for destruction. You remind me of, you remember that movie Battlestar Galactica? That one human being that was on the spaceship with the Cylon Raiders? When I was a kid, I never could figure that dude out. He's a human, and he's helping the Cylon Raiders hunt down humans. Well, that's you brothers over there on the Democrat Party right now. I ain't hating on nobody. One day the Democrat Party is going to get itself together and go back to being a regular part of the American political process. But right now, that day ain't today. That day ain't today, and it's time to stop messing with them, okay? So bottom line is, as more come in, the numbers of unemployment for the brothers get higher, So the Democrats are still succeeding because they're undoing everything that Trump has done. Don't vote for Democrats in 2020, okay? And, you know, on that same tangent about African Americans being their own worst enemies, in Alabama, there's a representative down there, and I've dubbed him the evil Mr. Rogers because his name is Mr. Rogers. He's a Democrat representative, and he was talking about abortion and encephalic abortions and infanticide. And this is what he had to say. I'm not even going to argue it. I'm just going to let you hear it, and you be the judge of this dude. I call him the evil Mr. Rogers. So I'm going to play what he said, and you got to understand he was in a courthouse or whatever. The microphones weren't good, but this is the best we can do. You take a listen to this man.
Woman's choice. I'm not about to be the male tell a woman what to do with her body. She has the right to make a decision herself. To rape the innocent. Some kids are unwanted. So you kill them now, kill them later. You bring them in the world unwanted, unloved. You send them to the naked shit. So you kill them now, kill them later. But the bottom line is that I think we should be making this decision.
I hope you guys heard that. That is the most insipid, most ridiculous, evil-hearted thing I've ever heard in a long time. Now, I don't know if he was just trying to get people's attention, you know, and it was being throwing out rhetoric, or if he was really, you know, saying that, but he hurt the feelings of Adorable Deplorable. That's her title, Twitter handle on Twitter. It's at Adorable Deplorable. And you should read what she said about him. Absolutely disgusting situation. But that's what seems to be going on anymore, the devaluing of human life. Now, as we move on into the show, because this day is just flying by, and I'm just loving it. I hope you're loving it. I hope you're having fun with this, because I most certainly am. Remember I said I was going to expose Al Sharpton in under 2 minutes? I'm going to do it. I'm going to play you something. I'm not going to say a word. You just sit back and enjoy it. And it's going to expose Al Sharpton in less than 2 minutes. Now, for my friends who have known me for 20 and 25 years, what did I tell you about Al Sharpton? What did I say? Now, it sounded crazy. A lot of things I say sound crazy until a little time goes by, and then you look up and go, damn, Kenny was right again. Here we go. Al Sharpton in under 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Say Al Sharpton, and most people probably think loudmouth activist and provocateur. Well, that certainly was his image in the 80s and 90s. Well, the Reverend Al has gone through something of a metamorphosis. Today, he's downright tame. So much that he's made his way into the establishment. It's been quite a trajectory, from street protest agitator to candidate for president in 2004 to now a trusted White House advisor who's become the president's go-to black leader, campaigning around the country for President Obama and his agenda. Today, Reverend Sharpton looks and sounds like a totally different person.
Reverend Al Sharpton is denying reports that he was an FBI informant. He reportedly was known as confidential informant number 7. Sharpton admitted recording some conversations, but said he was never told he was an informant.
The Smoking Gun website has documents calling Sharpton a confidential informant for the Bureau. At a news conference yesterday, Sharpton insisted he wasn't a rat.
In my own mind, I was not an informant. I was not and am not a rat, because I wasn't with the rats. I'm a cat. I chase rats.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Al Sharpton in under 2 minutes. The man is a government drone. He's been working for the United States government for such a long time. He's on a team called the Urban Suppression Team, okay? And don't ask me how I know. Just go with the flow. The Urban Suppression Team. He's one of the team leaders, I think, Team Lead 6. But yeah, he's been working for the government for a long damn time. That's why he can owe the United States $5 million and ain't nobody bothering him. He's over there making millions every day. He's got his property in his possessions. And if you did that with Willie Nelson, or my best friend, Wesley, well, not best friend, but he's a good friend of mine, Wesley Snipes, look what they did to him. They handled him. If you want to check, you'll see Wesley Snipes is friended on my Twitter and a couple other places. He's a good man, highly intelligent, and that brother was on a curve to excellence until the man put their hands on him and changed his whole life. One of these days, he'll tell people what really happened on that. And speaking of the man putting his hands on him, which is the deep state, the Democrats, the leftists, the socialists who are in our nation messing up everything for everybody, I just wanted to run this by you on Candace Owen and what happened with our Attorney General this morning, Mr. Bill Barr. It's a two-tier system, ladies and gentlemen. Candace Owens didn't even call the man stupid, and they jumped all down her throat. And then here at the hearings with the Attorney General Bill Barr, they mishandled that man today. I think this woman, Mazi Hinoro, she owes our Attorney General an apology. The president, she just came out swinging. She got like 5 or 6 people with just a little bit of word. I'm gonna play it for you right quick, and you'll see. I call it the two-tier talking points. Ready?
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Wait, please.
Mr. Barr, now the American people know that you are no different from Rudy Giuliani or Kellyanne Conway or any of the other people who sacrificed their once decent reputation for the grifter and liar who sits in the Oval Office.
I mean, come on. She called our president a grifter and a liar. She insulted Kellyanne Conway. She was being very belligerent inside of our Senate. What is wrong with these people anymore? We got fools in the Congress. We got fools in the Senate. They need to back it up a little bit and cut it out. We need to run straight into a station break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after these messages.
When I see a new broadcast from the SouthSide Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
It's Joy Villa, and I'm reminding you to tune in to the SouthSide Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend Ken White.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust. I belong.
Hey, we're back, and I'm trying to make sure that I keep this show under an hour. You know, I got people looking at me, pointing their finger, saying, hurry up, you love to talk. I love to talk because I know you love to listen. I know we got a lot to chat about, leaving a lot on the table so that we can get over there to Twitter and Facebook and kick it around some, you know. But, yeah, I did speak on abortion. Whenever I do that, I like to put out some type of a PSA about it, and this was going to be blackgenocide.org. Go over there and take a look at the numbers. And I'm talking to my people and with a bit of an emphasis on that. Go over there and take a look at the information. blackgenocide.org. This is real. This is real bad. Do you know that in California, the birth rate was the lowest it's ever been in the history of California, that it's on a decline? We are really in trouble here, ladies and gentlemen. The birth rate of Americans is declining, but yet the doors, the gates, the floodgates, everything is wide open for all these other people who don't even assimilate to come in. You know what's going to happen in 10 more years. This thing will be unrecoverable. We won't be able to fix this after that, okay? So please, let's stop messing around and get serious about this. You know, focusing on this young lady, Ilhan Omar. You know, she's out there saying some people did something and all that about 9/11. As many of you know, if you watch the show and whatnot, or listen to the show and you watch my page, is what I meant to say, because I'm about to speak on something here. 2 of my sons joined the United States Marine Corps immediately after 9/11. I was asked to join a private service and go over to, but I declined because I still had children that were under the age of 15 and I did not want to leave them behind. And so I stayed, but lost a lot of people. I lost a lot of friends, and I lost one of my sons. To hear her saying some people did something is just, you know, beyond the pate. But that's what we've allowed it to get, because we haven't done our job of standing up for our country. You know, you even got, what's his name, Louis Farrakhan out there saying that he's the Messiah now. You know, but I got problems with that because, you know, where the two angels slain in the front gates where all the world could see it in Israel, that didn't happen. Where the horns, didn't hear no horns. And you certainly didn't come like a thief in the night, Mr. Farrakhan. So you might want to ease back on declaring yourself some kind of Messiah. But he sure did it. So, you know, when you get people starting to talk like that, it's starting to get a little bad. But as you know, I always do the last segment relevant and germane to the title of the show. And the title of this show was Somebody Say Something. Well, a good friend of mine, Toot Sweet, which I hope you guys support him. His Twitter handle is @HeyTootsSweet. HeyToots SWEETS. Toot Sweet. He is a patriot. His father is a veteran. His father served our country, and he's serving our country with his talents and his music. So I support him everywhere I can. So I'm going to play a song of his in just a little bit called Some People Did Something, relevant to Ilhan Omar insulting our entire country with that gross statement that she made. But before I do that, I just want to read a simple poem that some of you probably know, but I did add something to the bottom of it, and it's my own words. But here we go. I'm going to read this poem relevant to the title of this show, which is Somebody Say Something. A poem about everybody, somebody, and nobody. Once upon a time, there were 4 people. Their names were everybody, somebody, nobody, and anybody. Whenever there was an important job to be done, everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. When nobody did it, everybody got angry because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought that somebody would do it, but nobody realized that nobody would do it. So consequently, everybody blamed somebody, but nobody did what anybody could have done in the first place. So now we've reached a point in our Congress with AOC, Glebe, and of course Omar, where anybody should be saying something. Everybody should be crying out, but nobody is. So now regarding 9/11, it's merely said, somebody did something.
Some people did something.
CARE was founded after 9/11.
Some people did something.
Because they recognized that some people did something.
Some people did something.
And that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Some people did something, I heard her say.
As she crossed the line that day. An entire nation cried at the empty spaces left behind, replacing my city skyline, and the way we all would live our lives was replaced with 3,000 beams of light illuminates the sky at night to symbolize all the lives we lost that day.
Some people did something, I heard her say.
As she crossed the line that day.
Some people did something. In a blink of an eye, 3,000 people died that day. Some people did something. An entire nation cried for all the loved ones who passed away. Some people did something. Yes, it hurts inside, the pain don't go away. Some people did something, I heard her say.
As she crossed the line that day. We swore that we'd never forget all the people we failed to protect, with a promise that we'd never let such an evil in our house again. But then the left capitulated with an ideology of hatred. The people's house been infiltrated.
Some people did something.
Yeah, the people's house been infiltrated.
Some people did something, I heard her say.
As she crossed the the line that day. Some people did something. How does she trivialize such a horrific crime that way? Some people did something. How dare she patronize all those innocent lives that way? Some people did something. She showed a darker side where her allegiance lies that day. Some people did something. I heard her say, yeah, she crossed the line that day. Some people did something, such a careless way to describe such a sacred day. Some people did something, and we must all recognize this evil in disguise is our enemy. Some people did something, or it's just a matter of time we get caught by surprise again. Some people did something, I heard her say, as she crossed the line that day.
And that is Some People Did Something by Toot Sweet. Even though sometimes I don't like to mention his name, which is Reverend Jesse Jackson, he did say something very poignant, and I remember it growing up as a kid on the south side of Chicago, going to Operation Push for, the ice cream and the balloons and all that. I am somebody. Say it with me, everybody. I am somebody. We're not nobodies. We're Americans. And speaking of Americans, there's a great American, one of my good friends, who is one of President Donald J. Trump's angel moms. Her name is Agnes Giboney. Her Twitter handle is at AGNES_GIBBONEY, Agnes Giboney. She's an angel mom because her son, unfortunately, was murdered 17 years ago on the 30th of April. And she did a post on it on Facebook with friends on Twitter and Facebook. And I saw that, and I heard the pain in her, and I couldn't really stick with it because I haven't really accepted the loss of my son. I haven't accepted the loss of my friend who was murdered by terrorists in San Bernardino at the IRC terrorist attack. I haven't accepted the loss of my nephew, Eric Zapata, who was murdered by an illegal alien. So I have 3 people in my life who have, they're gone because of the failures of our government. But unfortunately, on the 21st of February, 2020, the young man who murdered her son will be released from prison, and he's not going to be deported, you guys. These are the things that we have to work on. He needs to leave. Okay, fine, you didn't put him in jail for life, but could you imagine her having to run into him at a grocery store or in her daily life? That's asking too much of Americans. So we can't be nobodies anymore. We have to be everybody. We have to be somebody. We have to do anything legally that we can to bring our nation back around and make it make sense. So yeah, this has been one heck of a show. I really enjoyed you being here with me. And go ahead and chime in and give us your thoughts and share your opinions. That interaction is what breathes life into the Southside Unicorn, because you see, mythical beasts don't stay around very long unless you give them some of that unicorn dust. Without that dust, the unicorns kind of fade away and you never see them again. So, go ahead and show that love and whatnot, and we will bring out another show on Friday, which will be our Friday show. So you really want to be sitting somewhere, getting nice and comfortable, and get ready for that one, because it's going to be off the chain. It's not, it's not all political and whatnot. It's just chilling. We might do some old school stuff. Might break out with some karaoke. Might do some quizzing, whatever. But it'll be a fun, entertaining show. So you're going to want to be in a festive mood and join in on the show. It should come off at about 5 o'clock, which is the normal time. Well, wait, you're just getting off from work and whatnot. Why don't you guys give me some word on when you'd like to see the show kick off, and we'll try to time it around that time. So on Twitter or Facebook, start giving me some ideas about what time on Friday the show should kick out, and we'll get started on that. Well, it's that time, ladies and gentlemen. The unicorn's ready to go. I cannot keep him saddled very long. Unicorns are free spirits, and so they got to get their boogie on. This has been a really good show. Love you guys being here. Give me some input. Share the show. Twitter it. When you go on to our Spreaker, just join the club. It's not going to cost you anything. They're not going to bug you. Just go ahead and become a member. I need those member numbers because there's other organizations that'll pick up the show and all of that, but not without the support. Not without the support of the people that like the Southside Unicorn show. So yeah, This is Ken White, host of the SouthSide Unicorn Show, and I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and we're out.